Gear Fourth is a technique first seen in Luffy's battle against Don Quixote Doflamingo. It was developed by Luffy during his training on Rusukana. Luffy coats his arm in Busoshoku Haki before biting into his forearm. Similar to how he activates Gear Third, he blows an incredible amount of air into his body, but this time he inflates his muscular structure before distributing the air throughout his body, with emphasis on his upper half. If Luffy is stopped mid-blowing, the arm will slowly deflate. Utilizing Gear Fourth, Luffy makes extensive usage of his Busoshoku Haki by coating his arms, legs and much of his torso in it to the point that they turn black from hardening. The Haki coating across his body resembles the wispy ends made from flames, giving it the appearance of tattoos, and he gains shading around the inner and outer edges of his eyes. He also physically grows taller, standing around 4 meters tall. Similar to when using Gear Second, Luffy is continuously emitting steam in this form. Combined with Luffy's rubbery composition and his compressed muscle structure, Gear Fourth both adds explosive power to Luffy's attacks and grants him enhanced defensive capabilities far beyond what he can demonstrate with or without Gear Second or Gear Third. Depending on the situation, Luffy can adapt Gear Fourth into different forms. While Luffy is using Gear Fourth, his physical strength and speed are increased to the point where he is able to overwhelm a member of the Shichibukai, Don Quixote Doflamingo, and a high-ranking member of the Yonko crew, Charlotte Katakuri. Whereas before, Gear Second's lack of strength and Gear Third's lack of speed made them ineffective in the fight. Unlike the previous forms, Gear Fourth focuses on compression more than stretching in a manner similar to the Bane no Mi. He can compress his arms, legs, and head. While the compression grants Luffy's moves overwhelming speed and power, the range of his attacks is severely decreased. For example, the Gomu Gomu no Bazooka is a technique that Luffy has proven he can execute over varying distances, but due to needing to actually compress his fists for the Leo Bazooka, it required him to be right in front of Doflamingo. When the latter unveils his Devil Fruit Awakening, Luffy expresses his annoyance at his difficulty getting close to the Shichibukai. However, he can still deliver long-ranged attacks by stretching the part of the body he wants to attack with while retaining great power and speed, as his body is still greater in size and covered in Busoshoku Haki. Luffy also shows a much more versatile side of the Gomu Gomu no Mi's powers by changing the direction of his attacks mid-strike by bouncing off the air to hit a moving opponent without losing momentum. Luffy seems to have abandoned most of his sweeping attacks in this gear, such as whip and side, due to relying on compression rather than stretching. In Volume 79's SBS, it is revealed that Gear Fourth is based on the fierce guardian entity called the Neo statue, which fits well with Luffy's will to protect his crewmates with his life and beyond. The steam generated seems to be semi-gaseous, resembling the ribbon of the Neo statue, inspiration of Gear Fourth. This behavior of the steam is included later in the manga. The anime added some details during the Boundman transformation which were absent in the manga. In the anime, this is the first of Luffy's forms to have a soundtrack made up especially for it. The theme is called Gear Fourth and is part of the One Piece New World original soundtrack. Luffy's Devil Fruit, the Gomu Gomu no Mi, can be seen in the background while his torso is being coated with Busoshoku Haki. According to Doflamingo, the power of Luffy's attacks is greatly magnified in this form. His durability is also enhanced. Despite being hardened with Busoshoku Haki, his body is still rubbery, so physical blows, even ones enhanced with Busoshoku Haki, simply bounce off of him and or used as a counter-attack, depending on the form Luffy using Gear Fourth has a number of drawbacks for Luffy. There is a limit to how long he can keep Gear Fourth active, as noted by both Luffy himself and Doflamingo. Once this limit is reached, Gear Fourth automatically deactivates, leaving Luffy exhausted and barely able to move. He is also left unable to use Haki for 10 minutes after using this technique as it quickly depletes his Haki reserves. The technique also greatly taxes Luffy's stamina, as using it just once leaves Luffy so physically drained in the aftermath that he can barely stand and fight even after he has regained his Haki and mobility. Even afterward, Gear Fourth leaves its marks on Luffy's body. Akin to Gear Second, using Gear Fourth causes Luffy's metabolism to increase rapidly. In fact, after Luffy stuffed himself to a bloated size in his fight with Charlotte Cracker, using Gear Fourth once made him burn off the massive amount he had eaten in a matter of minutes. Furthermore, using Gear Fourth briefly for a second time in a row once rendered him unconscious for 3 days. Using Gear Fourth also makes him more prone to falling asleep. As such, this gear is completely a last resort if gear 2nd and 3rd fail to affect his opponents. Due to these side effects, Luffy is left vulnerable immediately after the depletion of gear 4th, particularly against powerful opponents. In fact, Luffy has yet to face a canonical opponent that he could defeat with a single use of gear 4th aside from the minions of the Beast Pirates. However, the drawbacks have shown signs of diminishing, especially after eating some food while retreating from his battle with Katakuri. When his first attempt to use gear 4th against him failed, Luffy could still run and escape the Muro world even after his gear 4th wore out. He was still fast enough to dodge a surprise attack from a man, and he could still use his attacks, though he could not imbue them with haki. He also had enough stamina to flee from a food-crazed Big Nin. Later on, at the beginning of the raid on Onigashima, Luffy used gear 4th to sink a Beast Pirate's ship without using Muscle Balloon first, and he did not seem to be worn out after returning to normal.